then she'd be my uncle. So we know how that saying drives down. But the whole thing is Phil, and this is the one point I want to point out to you. I get so tired of hearing Mike had Phil. Mike had Phil Jackson. The one thing Mike had was Phil Jackson. What people keep forgetting is Phil had Kevin Lockley. Phil had Stan Albeck. Mike had, let me rephrase that. Michael Jordan had Stan Albeck. He had Doug Collins. He had Kevin Lockley. He didn't have, not that those coaches are bad coaches, because they all coached in the NBA, and they all did well in the NBA. But they make it sound like he came in, they brought in Phil Jackson when Phil Jackson was the Phil Jackson that we know. Phil Jackson came in from the CBA as an assistant coach. So as much as Mike had Phil had Mike. So sometimes I think people completely forget that. When Phil got to LA and they had and he had already won 6 rings, it's more fair to say, Shaq and Kobe had Phil. Because by then he was already established. He was already a great coach. He already had street cred. He already had all those things. But I think it's disingenuous just to keep saying Michael had Phil. So anyway, that's just a side note I just wanted to bring up because people say that all the time and it drives me nuts.
Yeah, no, and I know I agree with you, and that's the way how Phil became to be Phil. The way he came up, like you mentioned, coming from college to NBA, and he ended up what he ended up doing.
No, CBA, Continental Basketball Association. Yeah, CBA.
Yeah, sorry. Yep. Thank you. From CBA to the NBA. And and just what he was able to do, what he was able to do with the players, what he was able to do just overall. So I thought that was very interesting to see. And also, we see how Phil Jackson comes into the Bulls as the head coach, and at the same time, how the same way that pretty much how he came in is how he went out.
What do you mean?
So, like, with kind of saying, okay, being told this is your last year, you're done.
Oh, yeah, this is it.
And there's no negotiation. It don't matter. It's like he was just done. So it's very, that was like, the same way you went in, it's the same way you went out. There's no talk, no if, nothing about it. It's just, you're just done. So I thought that was something that was, very the light was shining on, and at least I thought that kind of like opened like to see how the Bulls, were treated Phil. So I guess it just opened an eye on that.
Yep.
So
it was interesting. I can't wait till this weekend.
Me too. I'm excited. So I'll probably watch it like 2 more times before Sunday. So and with that too, we have we're continuing with the NBA. We have the draft the NBA draft that is soon approaching. We still have many cities in lockdown. We have COVID-19 with in the mix of this, and don't know exactly when sports are going to pick back up. We did have the NFL draft, and we saw how well it went for being done virtually, the first time that's ever been done. What do we see the NBA doing with their draft when it comes around in June? Are they going to possibility that they're going to do the same thing as the NFL? Possibility of there being some more action and more people involved in being together there? What do you think is going to happen there?
Well, one, I think the NBA draft is going to get pushed probably back until August 1st, somewhere of that nature, because no one's been able to work out at all. I mean, right now would be the NBA playoffs. So no one would be able to there's going to be no camp, no Chicago camp, no measurables, no anything. So I think everything is now just pushed back. From what I'm hearing, the draft, if things go well, possibly could be in August. I don't know. The NBA has not announced what they're going to do with Summer League, which obviously I don't think is going to go on. They haven't stated when the draft will be. The league season, the year season actually ends at the end of June. Will that be extended? What's the time? No one knows. Steve Kerr said the other day in an interview that they're treating the season like it's over for them. Now, obviously, they wouldn't have qualified for the playoffs anyway. So how then do they reconcile the end of the year? Because are they going to just jump right into playoffs? If they're not going to just jump right into playoffs and make these teams kind of battle it out or try to complete the schedule, and Golden State is telling you they're already playing like the season is over, then how do you schedule them to play anyone? Because obviously, it's not going to be the same. And not only them, I mean, I'm sure the Knicks and the Bulls are doing the same thing. They're already trying to evaluate new talent. So then do you have a play-in for the last spot in the West? And if you do that, then do you have a play-in in the East, even though that race isn't the same? See, there's so many questions out there with the NBA, and, the Lakers are trying to get into their facility by the 15th of May. The Hawks are supposed to be in their facility by the 8th, but then that got scratched. In the state of Arizona, right now, the governor came out earlier. He's not doing anything right now at all. Everything is status quo until the 15th. And then the 15th, he was making statements that, possibly, opening some things, but bars, he's not even going to get into until June because he doesn't want large crowds. So how large of a crowd is a large crowd for basketball teams to practice in an NBA facility? As of right now, I've said it before, and I'm going to keep saying it, I think the basketball season should be over, and they should restart it in the fall. But as far as the draft and all that stuff, I hope the NBA draft is online because it moves so much faster. There's only 2 rounds. They could get to it, get through it quickly, do the analysis, and be done. For me, I feel like it's always online anyway, to be honest with you, because I've done and you know this, I've done the Suns draft at the Suns draft party headquarters now for 8 years, something about in a row, 8, 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's all online anyway because we sit in the room with other writers, and then a couple years ago when they got DeAndre Ayton, they made a big deal about it, obviously, because they had never had the number 1 pick, and they bring in fans and, and all that stuff. But for us, nothing really changes. They make the draft, and then last year, because of, I forget what situation it was, we didn't even get to talk to the players the night of the draft. So all that happened, afterwards. Whereas all the way up until last year, there was always a conference call at the end of the draft or after the top picks were made, and we got to talk to them right away. And then, a few days after, they fly everyone in, and then, or the next day, they fly everyone in, and we get to have the press conference. So to me, it being online is really not a big deal. And I think that would probably be the only way you can go because, look, let's be honest. People aren't – listen, Joanna, the governor could have came out today, and I like Twitter because people that tweet, there's some people that tweet that say something. There's people that tweet all the time, and they say nothing in their tweet. You can come out right now and say government's open or everything's open. The government can say everything's open. Sports teams can go back. Restaurants can open. Bars can open. We're right back where we are. Are you going to a bar with 150 people there right now? Are you going to a sporting event with 50,000 people in the stands when there's no testing, no vaccine, and no nothing? So when it comes to the NBA, a contact sport, which nobody ever really wants to admit, I don't see anything happening with them coming back. The draft, yes. When? Who knows? Free agency, who knows? End of the calendar year, who knows? Everything with them is up in the air.
So I'm really curious how that's going to play out. Then we have the NBA saying that they can possibly start some practice facilities open as early as Friday, and that's voluntary. So
but it also depends on the state because the Friday, right. Last Friday was supposed to be the Hawks. This Friday was supposed to be the Hawks. they pushed it to the 8th. So that was even out to them. the Lakers are trying to get in by the 15th. New York is not letting anybody in the rest of the month. Chicago's not letting anybody in the rest of the month. Detroit's not letting anybody in the rest of the month. And Texas says they're going to open up, but Mark Cuban said they're not, and the NBA is not ready for business. New Orleans can't let anybody in, and they're a team that would be battling for a spot because New Orleans is a hot spot. So even if one or two teams can get in a facility with two or three guys, that's still, big picture-wise, that's really not a lot.
Mm-mm. It doesn't prepare the players to get back in the game, to start the season, to be in contact with each other. So many aspects of it is just not feasible, doesn't plan it out for the league to get ready to bring the season back.
No, James Jones said it would take 2 weeks to get guys in the camp and just 2 weeks to assess where they are. Then it would take another few weeks to get them in the game shape. See, people keep forgetting. Preseason starts a month before the season starts, but camp starts 2.5, 3 weeks before that. So it's not like these guys come in and the season starts in October and they're just ready to go. They get to camp in September and they start working. And then plus, the other thing you got to remember is in the summertime, a lot of players it's not like, well, we played our last game, see ya. They play their last game, they take their vacation, they spend some time with their family, and then a lot of guys are back in the city that they play ball at, and they're at the facility every day working out, getting treatment, getting stronger, and they're on a regimen. A lot of these guys are on no regimen right now. And we see LeBron working out in his home gym, and we can see Steph in his home gym, and we can see LeBron's worth $200 million, $300 million. Of course he has a home gym. You know what I mean?
And everybody is in that position to do that.
Everybody is in that position. Zach LaVine has a court in his house outside. He plays for the Bulls. I'm sure he's not outside every day on that court because weather-wise it won't allow. So a lot of people just say, wow, these guys have all these money. I'm sure they're working out. But where? They're doing the same thing that you're doing. If they make that much money where they have an indoor court in their house, I'm sure they are. But a lot of guys don't have that. And there's this misnomer that every NBA player has a house that has, a basketball court on the inside or a big workout place on the inside. Not everybody makes $38 million a year. And I think it's funny because we say that and we look at these players like, well, they should have one. But then when they go broke for buying stuff they don't need, we say, oh, well, how dumb were they to do that? Who needed a house with a basketball court in it? So, if you make $3 million a year and you go out and you buy a house that costs $3 billion because it has a basketball court in it, you're an idiot. You shouldn't buy a $3 million house if you make $3 million a year or $4 million a year. And not every player makes $30 million. So, we can say, okay, great, LeBron and Kawhi and those guys will be ready. Well, I'm sure JaVale McGee doesn't have a basketball court, and he's a big part of what they do. And I'm sure Patrick Beverley doesn't have an indoor court, and he's a big part of what the Clippers do. So I just don't see it. I just don't see how these guys can get ready to give us quality basketball where they're not getting hurt or possibly getting injured. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I think we've said it. The season's over. Even as much as they want to bring in those practices and getting players active, it's not going to happen. And in addition to being ready and having the season, MLB has proposed a division. It's a 3-part division with 10 teams for the 2020 season when that would start. So it breaks the teams up in groups of 10. So don't have all the details as to how that will play out. But do you think that it makes a major difference breaking it up in 3 parts versus the way that it is set up now?
Yes. I think if they do anything that alters the way baseball is played, it's not the same. It isn't, because teams aren't built the same.